Half the congressmen should be arrested and put into orange jumpsuits. The corruption has never been greater. Never have we had as corrupt a Senate or Congress as we have now. I'll be right back.
With Michael Savage, I can relate to him.
The Savage Nation. Weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk 910 KNEW.
The Merkley-Waxman cap-and-trade bill passed the House, but once it hits the Senate, there's a better chance that this will be stopped. Why? Because of farmers. Joining us now is Ben Lieberman, who's been following this bill closely, and he says cap-and-trade will be much tougher to pass in the Senate.
Well, thanks, Michael. Well, as you know, the Waxman-Markey Global Warming bill narrowly passed the House of Representatives a couple weeks ago and awaits consideration in the Senate. This bill is a massive energy tax in disguise with costs that the Heritage Foundation estimates will reach $9.4 trillion cumulatively by the year 2035. We're talking about costs of $3,000 per household of four per year from 2012 onward as this bill unfolds. Very, very expensive, and all in the name of fighting the exaggerated threat of global warming and doing so in a very ineffective manner. It's all economic pain for virtually no environmental gain. But things are a little bit different in the Senate than in the House of Representatives. And one of the things to take notice of is that the costs of this bill are not distributed evenly throughout the country. And, for example, farmers and rural Americans suffer disproportionately under these energy price hiking provisions in Waxman-Markey. Now, Waxman himself represents Hollywood, and Markey represents the suburbs of Boston. So it's understandable that maybe they weren't paying close attention to the needs of rural Americans and farmers. But in the Senate, virtually every state has its farming region, has its rural areas. They have to pay attention to what farmers are saying. And that's why it's important to take a quick look at what this bill will mean for farmers and rural Americans.
Why is that?
Because farming, as many of you may not know, is very energy intensive. So anything like Waxman-Markey that boosts the price of energy will hurt farmers. These are higher electricity costs. There's electricity in certain farming operations, higher diesel fuel costs to run tractors and other pieces of farm equipment. Also, fertilizer and chemical costs go up because these are produced from natural gas, which will become more expensive under the Waxman-Markey energy tax. So overall, farm profits, according to a Heritage Foundation estimate, will go down 28% in 2012, the very first year of this bill, and will average 57% lower over the course of this bill. Very, very tough on farmers who are already suffering tremendously. And, of course, when farmers hurt, the rural economy around them suffers as well. And in addition to this, rural Americans use an average of 58% more energy than urban Americans. And so anything that raises energy costs is going to disproportionately hurt rural Americans. These are the kind of things that weren't fully taken into account during the House debate over Waxman-Markey. There were a number of last-minute provisions in that bill to try to appease farmers with a few incentives here and there. But overall, the net harm to farmers and to rural Americans is pretty clear. And that's something that really we need to see a discussion of in the Senate. Now, the good news is in the Senate debate that it's slowed down. Things don't move as quickly in the Senate as they do in the House. And, in fact, in the House, this bill was rushed through before anybody really had a chance to take a close look at it, which in my view is the only way this bill could ever pass. But in the Senate, things move more slowly. We're going to have time to discuss the impact on farmers, the impact on agriculture, as well as the other adverse impacts in this bill. It'll be a chance for us to discuss the economic effects of this bill and compare those to the rather negligible environmental benefits of this bill, because overall this is an absolutely terrible deal for the American people, these cap-and-trade provisions, and I only hope that the Senate has a chance to fully discuss these problems. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the update, Ben. I hope the Senate takes a closer look and sees what this bill really has in it. And here's what's on michaelsavage.com, the most important website for this program, because the stories are interrelated to what we discuss. And so if you miss some of the show, you can catch it at home. Top left, Bloomberg News. My headline, one-party dictatorship to push Soviet-style medical treatment. What that means is what it says. Take a look at the people doing this. It's right out of Cuba or the Soviet Union. Are you people crazy? Don't you see that Obama and his minions are communists? What does he have to do, wear a red beret and wave a red flag? In the New York Daily News, heroin-addicted hobos set up shop in trendy neighborhood. Isn't that interesting? The heroin-addicted bums from around the nation are overrunning hipster haven, Williamsburg, living illegally in stalled luxury condo projects. Isn't liberalism grand? Maybe they'll be living in your bedroom soon. Don't miss Lisa Richards' great article, Michael Savage's Crime, Speaking His Mind. That's correct. Today it's me, tomorrow it's you. Go to the Savage Legal Fund, 110 Pacific Avenue, Box 135, San Fran 94111, to preserve free speech. Speaking of free, Goldman Sachs scores big in the latest quarter. Of course, it's easy to do. If you can write off your losses and make the taxpayer pay for them, you too could show a healthy quarter. But since you can't do that, you may not be showing a quarter as healthy as Goldman Sachs. Very important article by Wes Pruden about Al Frankenstein. The article is A Clown for All Seasons Arrives Just in Time. And Wes Pruden believes that Franken stole the seat. Stole it. Stole it. Stole it. The Democrats are good at stealing seats because they do not represent the mainstream. From China, the good friends of Goldman Sachs, they have stopped giving shock therapy for Internet addicts. That's correct. They were using shock therapy to treat people who were using the Internet too much. Maybe they'll learn to use it here under Obama's Stalinist health care. The number of police officers killed in the line of duty increased 20% during the first 6 months of 2009 compared with last year. That's because of liberalism, as you well know. Don't shoot, don't yell. Just take a bullet and go to hell.
Savage. Michael Savage. Afternoons 3 to 7 on Talk 910 KNEW and online at 910KNEW.com.
But what's even more alarming is that the McAllister bomb factory in Oklahoma, McAllister, Oklahoma, they must be able to ship 1,600 tons of depleted uranium weapons a day. That's 166,000 Nagasaki bombs of radiation. It's 20 train car loads of DU going out of that factory every day. It's only one of 4 U.S. Army bomb factories. And altogether, at all 4 bomb factories at any one time, they are allowed by the NRC to have up to 44,000 tons of DU on site. That's 4.5 million Nagasaki bombs.